Welcome to Business IQ. I'm joined now by James Benoit, who's the CEO of Mauritius registered AfrAsia, and that's a bank which has just announced the start of an African regional expansion drive, and we're going to be talking about that. James, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's start by just give us an idea of how big is this bank?
Right. AfrAsia Bank is quite new. We're 3 years old, and we're a boutique corporate and private bank headquartered in Mauritius. But we are part of the actual single largest conglomerate in Mauritius by turnover or asset size, and they're regional. We also have shareholders here in South Africa and in Singapore, so we're a growing regional corporate and private bank.
Now you were founded in Mauritius?
Correct. Headquartered, founded in Mauritius, and now ready to expand more into the continent and other places.
Okay, let's look at that expansion. Why now? What opportunities have presented themselves?
Right. Well, what we like is that we think there's an emerging story in Africa which is still a bit unloved and unknown, and that we see, look at countries like Angola with rocketing growth in the past few years and still a 7% GDP growth for all of Africa in forecast this year. Those are kind of numbers like Asia has seen for the past decade or two. So although Asia is well established in many ways as an investor market, we think the African perspective is still to be told and will be discovered in due course.
You talk about the, as you put it here, the Africa becoming increasingly integrated economically
Correct.
with Asia. Just give me your thoughts on that.
Right. Well, I mean, if you look at the amount of investment going in for mining and minerals or even agriculture or telecoms, those are big, substantial businesses which require a lot of capital spending. Those produce spin-off businesses and other kinds of satellite and business ecosystems, for lack of a better word. That means that the growth is truly becoming a lot more commercial and away from preference or aid. And we think that means that it's quite sustainable, and we think that provides pretty good foundations for what we call kind of core banking activities in many countries across the continent.
Your backers include Singapore. You also have ties with India. How is this likely to help with your expansion?
Good question. With our ties in India, AfrAsia Bank has got a what we call a foreign institutional investor license in partnership with the largest bank in India called ICICI. So we can offer investors a one-stop source for brokerage, custody, and foreign exchange if they want to make investments into India. And that might be very interesting for South Africans who are also investing back and forth to India.
It's a big growth market for the continent?
We think increasingly a lot of exports, particularly for South Africa, are going into China. But we also know India is increasingly a source of foreign direct investment and trading into South Africa. So we do see quite a nice parallel or quite a lot of trading opportunities between South Africa and India as we go forward.
Right. Your initial focus, of course, as you say, is South Africa. Where would you look to from there?
Well, we want to be a little bit humble in what we know and what we don't know. So our group is well established in terms of trading operations across Eastern Africa and Southern Africa. So I would suspect the next big moves for us would still be continuing along Southern and Eastern Africa.
Nigeria, there's a lot of interest in that market. Are you at all hoping to get into it?
There's a lot of interest, but I'd have to say that we'd look to consolidate our operations here, and we're probably making another investment in a corporate finance boutique in South Africa in coming months, and we'll consolidate what we know here and use that as we go forth across the continent.
Any specific challenges that you've identified on the continent in terms of banking, particularly from a business perspective?
I think some of the challenges would still be in terms of maybe regulations which change, and there's the usual aspects of some political uncertainty. But I guess, from my perspective, I've seen a lot of those kinds of challenges in Southeast Asia, and I think what we try to do is make sure we work with good partners. Our partnership with our private equity firm, which owns part of our bank, based here in South Africa. So we look for good partners to help us mitigate risk and understand some of those regulatory and other challenges in the market.
Let me ask you this, James. What will you be doing differently from the other banks that we know of?
I think what we offer is an ability to facilitate trade and investment across the region. So for a lot of companies that they're investing between here and, say, India and Southeast Asia and vice versa coming to here, Mauritius and our bank, AfrAsia Bank, is very good at facilitating trade, mergers and acquisitions, or investment opportunities. So we do that from a regional perspective, and I think that's where what we like to call ourselves as bank different.
Lastly, your sense of the banking environment here in South Africa, I mean, from a person outside looking in.
Very competitive, very developed. I mean, we're here setting up a rep office, obviously. We wouldn't pretend that we could come in here and be a mainstream bank at this stage, because we're still trying to make sure we understand what are the competitive niches, because I do think the banks that are here are well established and very big. So we're looking here to to understand the market better, and then we'd make decisions whether we could compete on certain niches or on a broader basis as we go forward. But I have immense respect for the competitive landscape of banking already here in South Africa.
Right, thank you very much. That's James Benoit, who's the CEO of Mauritius registered AfrAsia. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.